Hello, everyone. My name is Jimmy Bird, and I'm going to give a summary on chapters 7 through 9 in the book of Why Christ Matters by Leander Keck. Also, I'm going to give a response to the question of on the Nicene and Chalcedonian Christology, if it's appropriate or inappropriate in the development of New Testament Christology. In chapters 7 through 9, Leander Keck continues to his exploration of how Christology developed from the New Testament into the later doctrinal affirmations of the early church. Chapter 7, Jesus the Messiah. Keck revisits the Jewish roots of the term Messiah, emphasizing that Jesus' messianic identity was reinterpreted through the lens of his crucifixion and resurrection. Rather than a political or military liberator, Jesus came to be understood as the suffering and exalted servant. Keck argues that early Christians didn't abandon Jewish messianic hopes, but redefined them in light of what God had done in Jesus. Chapter 8, the pre-existent one. This chapter delves into the early Christian claims that Jesus existed before his human life. Drawing from texts like John 1 and Philippians 2, Keck outlines how pre-existence language was a radical way of expressing Jesus' unique relationship with God. He notes that such language was not simply mythological but theological, meant to express Jesus' role in creation and redemption. Chapter 9, the one made like us. Keck addresses the full humanity of Jesus, particularly against early heresies like Docetism, which denied Jesus' real humanity. He insisted that the New Testament affirms Jesus' real human experiences, temptation, suffering, and death as essential to understanding salvation. Keck highlights the theological challenge of maintaining both full divinity and full humanity without collapsing one into the other. Reflections and critical comment. Keck's nuanced handling of both continuity and development is helpful. He neither assumes that early Christian doctrine was a simple repetition of Jesus' teachings, nor that later doctrines were arbitrary inventions. Rather, he sees doctrinal developments as a faithful and necessary response to the lived and proclaimed experience of Jesus' followers. A strength of Keck's argument is his grounding in Scripture, particularly his attention to how the early church reread its Jewish scriptures in light of Jesus. However, one could ask whether his emphasis on theological development gives enough attention to the socio-political forces that also shape doctrine. The question was Nicene and Chalcedonian Christology an appropriate development? I would argue yes. Yes, it was an appropriate and even necessary development. The Nicene and Chalcedonian formulations were not attempts to replace New Testament Christology, but to protect its core affirmations amid growing theological and cultural complexities. The New Testament clearly presents Jesus as both divine and human. We can see it in scriptures such as John 1 and 14 and Philippians 2, 6 through 11 and Hebrews 4 and 15. However, it does not offer a systematic metaphysical explanation of how those two natures coexist. The councils respond to emerging questions by offering conceptual clarity, not inventing doctrine, but clarifying implications already present in apostolic witness. That said, the use of Hellenistic philosophical terms like ousia and hypostasis might make the doctrine feel abstract or inaccessible. This raises questions about how the church today can articulate Christology in ways that are both faithful and intelligible to contemporary audiences. Thank you.